Hello, you guys. Welcome to Being Becoming Episode 1. My name is Micaiah. Today, I'm going to talk to 5 beautiful Black women about the state of our country. We're going to talk about the previous state of our country, what America was founded on, our current state, and then where do we see the country going, and what role do we play in that, how we can help to build the best America for all. So we ask as we have this conversation that you are respectful of all of the opinions and viewpoints that are voiced today, and that hopefully you get something out of this conversation, that we're able to educate you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Being Becoming.
I'm Contessa Mason, and I am from Indianapolis. I went to the University of Kentucky, and I graduated in 2016 with a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in family science. And I am currently a registered behavior technician, and I work with children on the autism spectrum.
Hello, my name is Samira Shabazz Dixon. I went to the University of Kentucky where I got my bachelor's in social work. Then I also went and got my master's in clinical social work. I am a certified social worker in the state of Kentucky, and currently I work as an in-home therapist with a faith-based agency with youth in a home or in foster care.
Hi, my name is Uriah Carter. I also went to the University of Kentucky in 2016. I received my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in theater. I also attended the University of Kentucky for my master's in social work with a school social work certificate, and I currently serve as a community coordinator for the Office of Residence Education and Development at the University of Cincinnati.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janelle Cook. I also attended University of Kentucky. My bachelor's is a bachelor's of arts in education with a certificate with communication and health. I'm currently doing my master's right now at Lindenwood University in St. Louis, Missouri, in which I'm going to be getting a master's of teaching degree. I'm currently teaching first grade. Originally, I was doing high school with PE and health, and I will be going back to health and PE next spring.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being available to join in on this conversation. As we know, police and policy reform is and has been an important topic these days. We have a lot of individuals now supporting the movement and then trying to educate themselves. But to get there, we have to reflect on the past and how we got here even in the first place, which I hope this conversation will shed some light on. But before we actually get to that, as you guys know, today was a hard day. It was George Floyd's final memorial and homegoing service. So how are we feeling today? How are we feeling in general?
I feel very sad. While his death has definitely sparked a lot of awareness and a cultural shift that has been needed for a while now, I feel for his family. They don't see him as, oh, George Floyd, this kind of rekindling or like a second fire of the movement since Trayvon Martin's passing, but they've lost their son, their uncle, their brother, their father. And yes, like I said before, the awareness that's brought this through and this fire that from that tragedy it has brought, this man has become a symbol. And while his name will definitely be in history books, it'll be something that we tell our children and grandchildren about for this second wave of civil rights uprising. Someone has lost a loved one that they grew up with and that they know. So it's very sad. For that, I feel a lot of frustration and anger because it was not his time. God did not decide that. Someone with an abuse of power decided that. And it's just very telling and reflective of where our society not only is now, but where it has been since the 60s, since the 1860s, and basically back to since 1619, probably further ahead of that.
In this moment, I feel a lot of emotions. I'm sad that we're losing members of our Black community by the hands of police officers. I'm upset because there has not been any change to help end systematic injustices. I'm scared that it could be me or a member of my family who dies by the hands of police officers. It's just a lot. I'm angry that there is people who see nothing wrong with what the officer did to George Floyd, or the fact that no charges has been brought against the police officers who murdered Breonna Taylor while she was just sleeping in her bed. So it's just been emotionally and mentally draining because it seems like it's impossible to overcome racism and injustices that we as African Americans have faced for the last 400 years. It's like we're experiencing modern day lynching by those who are supposed to serve and protect us. So I feel impelled to use my voice to speak up against racism and police brutality.
So, ladies, we've talked a lot about the past. So this is something that's been going on since the 60s. This is something that's been going on previous. I can't tell you how many T-shirts and banners and social media posts I've seen where it's like, say their name, and it's a ton of names up there. We could just go on and on about people who have suffered police brutality or just other issues. So with that, what was your first experience with race where you knew you were Black in a sense?
I would say from my upbringing, I didn't really feel that I had to stay within these like color lines, and or my peers were acknowledging that I was Black. And I think that that was a beautiful thing for me in a way, because I just felt wanted. I think that's an important feeling as a child, to just feel included. And maybe not until I got to college and did I actually have experiences where I felt like the world looked at me differently as a Black female, as a African American. And I went to the University of Kentucky, and there were just instances like, are you guys familiar with the doll that was hanging? It was like a doll that was hanging on a tree, like the lynching. So in the workplace too, I would say. So those is like when I started to grow up and become like 18 plus, did I really feel that I was being treated differently, or people looked at my color before they saw me?
So I have two distinct times in my life where like my race was like that prominent, I guess, awakening for me. Because growing up, it's like, you knew you were Black. Like I went to my elementary school was half white, half Black. And I, Black History Month, the McDonald's 365 commercials, like my parents would educate me about, civil rights, whatnot. We all watched My Friend Martin and The Color of Friendship. So like I grew up knowing that I was Black, but I didn't have experiences until I was older where I became aware of cultural appropriation and microaggressions, and then the negative stereotypes of Black people, specifically more so on Black women. And I guess that goes more to say about my identities deeper than my identity as being Black. So when I was in 8th grade, there was a white girl who came up to me in my theater class and it's like, Uriah, you're an Oreo. And I had never heard that word before. I mean, I'm gonna be real, I thought it was a compliment, like, oh, she's calling me sweet, because Oreos are like, they're a sweet cookie. And it's like, she explained it to me and she was like, no, you're white on the inside but Black on the outside because of how I talked. And that didn't sit right with me. But I mean, it's like, you're never trained for moments like that. You can always be like, oh, nah, if that was me, I would X, Y, and Z. Well, that just wasn't me, and I just avoided her. Like I didn't really talk to her prior to that moment nor afterwards. So I just kept on going. But it was also when I was 18 plus, like attending the University of Kentucky, where a lot of things became very much more apparent. Outside of that interaction in 8th grade, my middle school and high school were very diverse. We had everyone from all different types of background. It was a melting pot. And so that was the world that I thought was out there after graduating high school. And then attending UK, where honestly there are more Black people on the brochure than on campus, that was like a rude awakening. And then there was a point in the 2012 to 2016 year where there would be a white person, a group of white people driving around campus calling Black students and Black people the N-word out of their cars. And that happened to me. That was one of those people. And just experiencing something like that, which is very, very angry, very dehumanizing, really put a lot of things into perspective on top of attending a PWI.
Uriah, to bounce off of something you said you were never trained for that moment. So to educate people who may not be a part of the Black community, there's a lot of at least I know me growing up and cousins and family members and people I'm close to, they were trained for specific moments. So when you come in contact with the police, this is what you should do. When someone says a rude comment to you, this is what you should do. So what can someone speak to like some of those training moments they may have experienced in their childhood, or things that their parents or elders or family members, aunts, uncles, things of that nature may have told them when dealing with these types of situations?
This is Janelle. So I've always been told to just use your voice. Everyone who knows me knows I'm very outspoken. I'm very vocal. So if you mistreat me or even threaten me or use racial profiling against me, I'm going to say something to you. It's our duty to correct those people who decide to use racial terminology against us. But it's also our duty to stick up for people who's not going to talk. So, like, I remember an instance where this is back in Kentucky. For those who don't know, my mom was stationed at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And so I ended up going to Central Hardin High School, which is in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So I remember it was this guy who was at a football game, and it was a white girl who, you know, has been flirting with him, whatever. And I guess she had a boyfriend who was white, and I guess it became a little confrontation, basically. And so, you know, I saw the black guy, he got angry, and so I just decided to walk over there. Just, you know, not be funny. He was only one out of, 5 black guys at the school? So I felt eager to go over there, you know, just to see, like, hey, what's going on? And so he was like, oh, he just called me in there and how they're going to do this to me and threatening me and all of this. And I'm sitting here like, wow, you know. And the fact is that I stayed over there with him simply because I didn't want him to do anything that would end up backfiring, simply because it was white police there. They wasn't of our color. They were white. So the thing is, he was going to be looked at as guilty in whatever those white people said. I felt like those words, whatever they stated to them, would have been the ultimate statement of what actually happened in their book, instead of the real picture of actually, hey, this guy threatened me. This is what I did. This is how I responded back. So it's one thing to stop people from harming people who say things that are mean, derogatory against us, but also teaching them the right way to respond. Sometimes they want us to respond out of anger and want us to react, and we have to be bigger than that.
I want to answer the question before the one that Janelle just answered about
Your first experience with race.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it wasn't really until high school, and I went to a diverse high school. But I remember as a cheerleader, and our school played a away game during basketball season, and we played a predominantly white school. This was in high school. And I remember the student body of the other school basically saying, like, our school is ghetto, like, y'all gonna go fry some chicken, y'all gonna go eat watermelon, like different stuff like that. So I saw our, cheer coach. She was like, y'all don't reply, don't say anything back. And she was like, I'm going to reach out to that school's, like, principal and athletic director and things like that. So kind of learning that in those moments is times when we want to maybe say something verbally, but risk having to go another route because of maybe our different positions of where we are. But I would definitely say in undergrad is when I really experienced a lot of microaggressions in terms of race. I just remember very distinctly my senior year as a RA, and the RAs come back to campus 2 weeks early. And we had a RA training about some of the events that were going on, with Black Lives Matter. I don't know if some of y'all, Micaiah, Uriah, Y'all remember that training that we went to? I think it was in the chemistry and physics building. So as a RA staff, we went back and we talked about it. And at the time, it was only myself and one other African-American on the staff. And I remember my coworkers just saying, you know, oh, well, they shouldn't resist arrest, or, oh, they didn't have enough evidence, or I remember a male coworker saying, well, people talk about me because I'm from, you know, a small town in Kentucky, and people ask me about shoes, and it just got really bad to the point where I had to walk out of the meeting, and I was like in tears. And the hall director at the time, she came and she spoke to me afterwards and asked if I was okay. I said I was okay. But really after that, there was never any, like, you know, other discussions about it. And it was hard for me because the incident where I believe it was either 9 or 8 people got killed inside that church. It was in South Carolina, was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that incident hit me hard. So I would say just incidents like that where it was like, wow, like, y'all are supposed to be leaders on campus. Like, we're resident advisors. We have, you know, students from different backgrounds coming into the dorm. And it's like the blatant disregard for other people's feelings and feelings of people of color, you know, especially during that sensitive time. Like, I'm like, man, like, we're all young. Like, we're the same age. And you would think that our generation will have, you know, I guess be more open-minded to certain things. And so that was something that really stood out to me.
Staying somewhat on that topic, having to be the bigger person, or like Contessa, when you said you had to walk away from that moment, not being able to maybe say what you felt in that moment, and then having those moments that everyone else has talked about that reminds you of your actual race, or that people may think you're inferior in a certain sense. How does that shape us? How does that actually like make us feel?
I've had a lot of experiences, especially in the workplace, of feeling like I have to walk away. I have to quiet myself, watch myself, censor myself. And it's hurtful because I feel like I'm in this box, right? I can't genuinely be myself just the way I feel like my coworkers can be. So it's hurtful in a way that I feel like I'm really hiding and shying away from myself. I feel like I cut myself short by not saying what I want to say in that moment, but I'm having to think about, okay, where is this going to end? Where is this, you know, going to go after I say what I want to say? So I think when I think back on those experiences, I think that I've grown too. I think that those experiences forced me to grow and mature, and also help me kind of think about, oh, that's what my mom was talking about. Oh, that's what my aunt was talking about. And this is what, you know, the people that I look up to that are older than me talk about when they talk about what they go through being a black female or African American. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And going back off of Sam, it's like, it's been a time where I had to also like quiet myself in a sense. I also felt like I had to work twice as hard to get things accomplished, simply because I am Black. And it's like, where do we go? You get what I'm saying? It's like, oh, if we say anything back, we have an attitude. So it's very hard. It was very hard. Now, have a certain way to go about things. You know, my mom always told me sometimes you're going to have to just grieve and bear, meaning you're just going to have to go through that cycle without always commenting back or deal with it until God deals with it, in a sense. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Sam.
And I had an example that I should have shared about my workplace experiences and feeling like I had to silence myself. So there was a lot of microaggressions. I worked in this really small office, and there was this older white woman. I really think that, and this is not me feeling myself, but I really think that she was threatened by me. I think that she was threatened that I had more education than her, and that I literally knew what I was talking about. So, and she had, our office was so small that it really only needed 2 people to be open, 2 people in the office to be open. And I'm gonna try to make it short, but I had experienced so much aggression from her, microaggression, just passiveness. And I remember that it was around the time I had lost a family member. I had got 3 phone calls in a row. Now, let me know if y'all can agree with this. I hate getting called when I'm not on call or on the clock. Okay? Don't call me if I'm not in the office or if I'm not on call and I'm about to go in the office in a couple of hours and it's not major. It's not an emergency. But anyway, that's my one pet peeve about that. So I remember getting 3 days in a row, I got phone calls from this lady and she was really aggressive. It was so early in the morning. I had just lost a family member, and that 3rd day I had just had enough. And it was like, you know what, when you call my phone, you need to greet me just the way that I greet you. And so that's just kind of the progression of the incidents. I ended up going to HR. And when I went to HR, I was so scared. This was my first time really speaking up for myself, and I had just had enough. I had just felt like I had been silent too long. And I also feel like when I speak up that I wait until like the very last minute, and then I am motivated to speak up because I know I'm not the only person experiencing that. And I'm like, if I have to take the brunt of whatever's going to come so that somebody else doesn't have to experience it, then I will. And that's usually where I am when I choose to speak up. And I remember telling the HR lady, I told her that I know this is not going to go well after this meeting. Like, I know that they're going to use their power against me. And ultimately, I feel like I felt in that moment when I sat in that seat and when I walked in her office, I was going to lose my job. Long story short, after multiple HR meetings, after multiple documentations of me and emails that I was sent to her, nothing really got accomplished. I feel like the only thing that I got accomplished was me telling them that I see you, I want you to see me, and I understand how you're treating me, and I'm not okay with it. I am grateful and blessed that I got a better job in a better position. Leaving that position forced me to grow professionally and get in certifications and licenses that I would not have got if I stayed there. So, and that was a testimony to me because I was comfortable, the money was good, and but I was being abused and misused every time I went into that office. But thank God for putting me in that uncomfortable position because, like I said, I'm in a way, way better place than I was when I was there. So yeah, that was my experience, feeling like I had to be quiet.
You guys, I'll just talk about me personally just for a minute. One simple word to explain how I feel when I feel like I have to be muted or I can't say what I want to say is I'm angry. I'm literally angry about it. I think this year specifically, so we're going into 2020, and one of my huge goals for myself is just becoming the best version of myself. I'm no longer staying silent when I don't agree about something. I don't care if you decide you want to token me as an angry Black woman. I know that I'm not overall, I'm not an angry person. Like, I don't wake up Like, I'm going to be angry today. I'm just going to go out into the world and, I'm going to say all these rude and nasty things. Like, that's not how I wake up. It's little things will happen throughout the day and it will keep happening and keep happening. And then it's like, I just explode in a sense. So moving into this year, I really am speaking up about anything that I feel like is injustice. If I have an opinion about something, even if it's outside of injustice, I'm going to say what my opinion is. Obviously, I'm going to try to say it in the most respectful way possible, but you're going to hear what I feel about the situation or feel about the opinion or idea or things of that nature. So can we talk a little bit about why people use angry Black women, why we even let that take power over ourselves? Because I'll be honest, people call me bougie all the time. I do not care. I'm bougie. You can call me it. So if somebody wants to call me angry, okay, it's just another word. So why has that been a stigma or a stereotype in our culture, and what feeds off of that?
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Uriah.
okay. So I have a very, very passionate standpoint on this because I feel like the angry Black woman trope is something that is used to gaslight and oppress Black women from not only white men and women and other non-identifying white people, but also from Black men. And so, in my opinion, I believe that they call us angry Black women is because there is a deep-rooted dichotomy that they don't know whether to fetishize us or to fear us. Because we, as women in general, are supposed to be seen as nurturing, caring, submissive, not submissive in a godly manner, which people like to twist, but just to be submissive, just to say, yes, sir, no, sir, or yes, husband, no, husband. And that's not the case because we, as Black women, are statistically proven that we are head of our households. And that includes us being head of our households, whether we're in a relationship or not, whether we are married or not, just because of things that we've had to endure. Black women have had to be the head of the households, whether they were single or not. And that is by either them, not because of the whole deadbeat dad trope, but because of Black men that were either drafted to wars or Black men being killed on the street or Black men dying early because of health disparities in the medical field between white, non-Black POCs and Black people. I feel like it's oppressive because why are we not allowed to be angry and express our opinion? Or not angry, but just expressing things that we do not agree with. I feel like there are times where there's supposed to be this expectation that we're supposed to be grateful that we're even allowed to have a job as women or to be working in the fields that we work in as Black women. And that's right too. Black men being incarcerated too at alarming rates over things that white people in the West Coast are making industries out of. But that's another topic for another day. So just saying all that is that with us being labeled angry, it's another way for our opinions and our feelings to be diminished, to be overlooked. It gives people a reason to justify them excluding us from tables and conversations and movements that we are the basis of. Think of the numbers of Black women in the health field, but think of all the advances in the medical field due to Henrietta Lacks. Or Sarah, gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but Sarah Bartman. Black women. And even the whole history of gynecology, the whole father of gynecology, who I don't even care about because he experimented on Black women slaves without anesthesia. It's just, so saying all that to say all this is that calling us angry gives justified reason to invalidate our feelings, our place in society, and our very existence. And if someone were to call me an angry Black woman, like you're saying, Micaiah, I know where I'm coming from on instances and situations. And what you're not about to do is silence me, because I've worked hard. We have all worked hard to be where we are at. And it's just very funny, not funny, but just interesting how our white counterparts can be frustrated and angry in professional settings, and they're seen as either being ambitious, how they are not just, they're not willing to stand, they're not going to stand down on their opinions, they are so passionate and
or
so
assertive.
fueled. Or assertive, exactly. And they're being assertive over what? Being able to go on a company trip. And I'm just trying to be assertive, making sure that we have mental health resources, something that not only benefits me, but benefits you as well. But no, we're the problem. or we're the problem until it's fashionable.
You summed that up very well, Uriah. And that's the thing. People think that as Black women, we have this attitude problem, and we really don't. My thing is, I have a standard. And if you're not reaching that standard for me, honey, it's goodbye. And that's for anything, for a work company, education-wise. If you're not, if my professor is not giving me the best quality education I desire, I'm going to say something. So if you want to take that as an attitude, go right ahead. Go ahead, boo. I ain't mad. Because like I said, I'm entitled to how I feel. I'm entitled to my opinion. So if I have an attitude, hey, I have an attitude. It's like, oh, well.
Well, honey, y'all didn't say it. No, like, just to piggyback off of both of y'all, like, I feel like women of other races get angry too. So when we do it, why does it need to be this thing? And I agree. I feel like it's a device to silence the Black woman and keep us within a box. And it's like, nah, fam, I'm not doing that.